Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Marketing Coffee Chat. So I'm finding that people seem to hop on just a little bit late after we get started. So I'm not sure why that is, but I see a couple people joining right now, so that's awesome. So I'm going to stall for a minute, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not. So, all right. So this is the Coffee Chat, Marketing Coffee House. Format is that my phone is ringing and I gotta shut that off. All right, so the format is that I'm gonna talk for a little bit. While I'm talking, you guys can put any questions or comments that you have in the chat. Feel free to add to what I'm saying, contradict what I'm saying. It's up to you. This is intended to be interactive and instructional at the same time. So, and if you're watching the recording, also in the coffee house, because I do put these on YouTube, but if you're watching the recording in the coffee house, feel free to add comments underneath the video, and we can keep the conversation going. So, all right, so with that, I'm going to get started. I was expecting one other person. Let me just type her a message real quick. So, okay. All right, so today we're talking about defining your ideal customer within your niche or niche. I found out, by the way, that you can pronounce it either way. The pronunciation on dictionary.com is niche, N-I-C-H, or niche, like N-E-E-S-H. So I'm going to go with niche because it sounds more important. All right, so we're talking about defining your ideal customer in your niche and why that's important. So a niche, by the way, is a subset of a larger group of a target market. So, and we talk about this in the Accounting and Marketing Crossroads program in a little bit more detail. But basically, let's just assume for a minute that you are a bookkeeper. There's Shannon. Hello. So let's assume for a minute that you're a bookkeeper, right? So your target market is like anybody in the world that needs bookkeeping to start with. Then you funnel that down into your niche. So, maybe it starts with anybody in the world that needs bookkeeping. Then it's anybody in the United States that needs bookkeeping. That's what I want to focus on. Then it's companies. Thank you, Shannon. I like niche too. So then from the United States, maybe it's construction contractors. Let's say that, right? So then you can drill down even further to construction contractors with less than $1 million in revenues. So you get my point that we're starting with the very broad market and then trying to drill down into what it is that your niche is. So why is it a good idea to focus on a niche? And of course, I'm looking at my notes on my other screen. So there's a couple reasons. Number one, we can hone our skills in that particular niche, right? So, and construction actually is a good example because there's a lot of a lot of things that are unique to that industry and to bookkeeping in that industry. So if you're going to focus on that, you can become really good at how that needs to be done, as opposed to trying to focus on the broader bookkeeping market that would include, all kinds of companies. And now you got to figure out and maybe just dabble in some of the different industries and really not get great at any one of them. And I don't know, I mean, we've been talking a lot in the Accountant's Coffee House about wanting to provide, superior customer service. And in order to do that, we need to be experts at what we do. The second thing is that you can focus your marketing then towards that niche, right? So if I'm marketing on social media, as an example, and my niche is construction contractors, I can focus on groups that would have where those sorts of people would hang out. And I'm not going to focus on church groups because they don't worry about construction. So I have a comment from Bandora. She said, "Yup, I didn't like trying to be a Jane of all trades and master of none. The best thing I've ever done is narrowing down my niche." Very good. Perfect. Exactly. Real world example. Thank you for that. Another reason that I think it's a good idea to focus on a niche is that you're able to refer and collaborate with other colleagues on things that don't quite fit within what you do. So, for example, you know, continue our example of a construction contractor, and I'm really good at construction contractors that are smaller, but maybe there's larger ones. My niche is under $1 million. Maybe I get one that's $20 million, and I don't really feel quite prepared to do that. I can either collaborate or refer with a colleague to work on that. So, I think an example that I used in the accountant's coffee house when we were talking about referring is investments. So, if I'm a construction bookkeeper and my client comes to me and says, "Hey, Bob, I really like you. You do a great job for me. Can you recommend some investments because I'd like to start a 401k?" No, Mr. Client, I cannot, because I don't do that. But I have a very good friend who does, and he will take great care of you. And then you can refer that out, right? So, that's kind of the point, not the point, but that's another benefit to me of focusing on a niche, that now we can kind of spread out and collaborate, and I refer to you and you refer to me. And, I have an article called "Referrals Make the World Go Round," which I truly believe that. So, so those are some of the reasons why I think it's important. How do you define your niche? So the way that you can define your niche is, again, by starting with the broad. But before you get to that, step one, in my opinion, is to figure out what you're passionate about and what you want to focus on within your skill set. So an example that I use in my blog post, which I posted in the group here yesterday, is I'm passionate about fatherhood and I'm passionate about the family. And I'm a CPA. I'm really good at internal control and processes. So what am I passionate about? What am I good at? Now, once you have that figured out, who can I serve in areas that I'm passionate about and my skills are going to benefit them? So the next step is, who do you want to serve? But you got to know, what you're passionate about first before you can decide who you want to serve. Because I'm passionate about the family and fatherhood. So, and my skill set is in internal control. Let's just go with that for a minute. So, I'm not looking to serve IBM or, obviously that's a far-fetched example. But, number one, that's not something I'm passionate about. And number two, it's not within my skill set. So you got to figure those two things out. And then the next biggest thing in defining your niche, oops. There should be like a buzzer if I say it wrong, because I'll do it probably again. So what are you passionate about? What's your skill set? And then who do you want to serve? So I'm not going to get into a lot of detail then regarding defining your ideal customer, because this chat was supposed to be about defining your target market or niche and why it's important, right? So if you read the article, also talks a little bit about defining your ideal customer. If you want to take a look at the Accounting and Marketing Crossroads program, we go into more detail in the videos there about defining your ideal customer. You get a checklist and you get a filled out example too. So in that program, we dig deeper into these topics that I introduce here in the weekly chats. So, all right. So I'm going to do a quick summary while I wait to, I see a couple other people joined. Hello, ladies. Thank you for joining. It's nice to see you. So I'm going to do a quick summary and see if anybody else has any more comments while I'm doing that. So today we're talking about defining your target market or niche, pronounced N-E-E-S-H, niche, and why it's important. So we talked about the fact that a niche, you start with a broad sense of what it is that you want to do and serve, and then we start to boil that down. And really the first thing that you want to do is you want to determine what it is that you are passionate about and what is your skill set. Then you want to take that information and decide who you want to serve, who will most benefit from your passion and your skills, how you want to serve them, and then you can begin to approach that target market. A couple of the benefits we talked about having a niche are, let me find that list again, where to go. So number one, you can hone your skills in that particular area. And Bandora gave us an example of that in her own experience in the chat. Number two, you can focus your marketing efforts on that specific target market as opposed to having to spread them all out. And number three, we can refer, by focusing on what we're great at, we can refer to colleagues and collaborate with them and thus kind of expand what we're able to do that we maybe couldn't do on our own by being willing to collaborate with our colleagues. So, all right. That is about all that I had to say. I think I'll go ahead, even though I posted this article in the group yesterday, I'll go ahead and put it here in the chat as well if anybody wants to take a look at it. This is what this is where I'm taking my information from today in my article called Defining Your Ideal Customer in Your Niche. With that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate it. Appreciate the comments, the interaction, and I will see you guys next week.